happy to be with you again today. Hey, some of you finished school this week, so woo! Congratulations for those of you who finished school. Speaking of school, did you miss it? I bet you're missing your friends, aren't you? I kind of miss my friends too. I'm glad that we can do stuff like this though, where we can take pictures or do FaceTime or Zoom and see one another. You know, our story today actually has a lot to do with friends. It's about Jesus and the people that he chose to follow him and be his helpers or be his friends. They were actually fishermen. Have you ever been fishing? I've only done it a couple of times and it's actually a lot of fun. And I'm going to go ahead and show you the craft that I have made for you today. It's a fishing game. And all you need to do this is you need something to be your fishing pole. You could use a chopstick like I did, or you could use a pencil or a pen or something like that. And you need something like yarn or string. Most of us have that around the house. And then you also need some paper clips. And you're going to make some little fish. You can make all kinds of fish. Look, I made little ones, medium ones. I made, this is kind of like a shark. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, maybe not. And then you're going to take the paper clips and put it right there on your fishy. And then you need a magnet. I was lucky because I had this special kind of magnet that had a hole in it already. And it's a pretty strong magnet. But if you don't have one like that, you could take magnets off your fridge and just tie them to the string, or you could tape them to the string and they'll probably work just fine too. So what I did was I took my magnet and I took my string and I tied a little loop at the end. And voila! I have a fishing pole. So then what you're going to do is you're going to take all your little fishies with the magnets on the end. And you can make this fun. You could put them on the other side of the couch and you could throw your fishing pole over the couch and see what you can catch. But look what happens. This is kind of cool. So when you put your fishing rod down, aha, it will catch the fish. Isn't that cool? So that's the fishing game. It's a lot of fun. And you can make that with a whole bunch of different things. But that's what we're working on today. And I love the story that we're going to talk about today. Jesus picking his friends, picking his people who were going to follow him, his disciples. They were great people. And you know what's pretty cool about that is Jesus told them to come follow him. And they were fishermen. That was their job. They would go out into the sea and they would put their nets down and they would catch fish. And when Jesus said for them to follow him, you know what he told them? He said, you from now on are going to be fishers of men. What does that mean? Well, what it means is instead of going out into the sea and putting their nets and gathering all the fish of the sea, they were going to go out and they were going to spread God's love like a big net over everybody. And they were going to bring all of God's children in. They were going to be fishers of men. And you and I can be fishers of men too. Well, I'm going to read you the story today again instead of sending you to the video. And the story is called Let's Go. And I'm reading it from the Jesus Storybook Bible. Are you ready? Okay. After Jesus was baptized, he went straight out into the desert. That might seem like an odd place to go because, as you know, deserts are very hot and there isn't any food or water or places to stay. But Jesus needed to get away by himself and be somewhere quiet and lonely. He needed to be with his heavenly Father to get ready for his new life. In the desert, Jesus thought about the secret rescue plan that he had made with God. Before the foundation of the world, they both knew what would have to happen. To rescue God's children, Jesus would have to die. There was no other way. It was the reason he had come. Now, that old enemy, the one who had spoken through the snake to Adam and Eve back in the garden, remember him? He didn't want Jesus to rescue God's people, so he lied to Jesus. Are you really God's own son? He whispered. Poor you. God must not love you. You don't need to die. Do it my way. Yes and no, Jesus said to the liar. I will do what God says. And from that moment on, nothing would ever be the same. Jesus wasn't like Adam. Jesus was a new kind of man. He would not believe the terrible lie that the enemy spoke. Jesus knew God loved him, and he would trust God no matter what. It was just as God had promised to Adam and Eve all those years before. Jesus had come to do battle against the snake's work. He would get rid of all the sin and the darkness and the tears. And he would suffer, but he would win. There's Jesus and that sneaky snake. Oh, look at this. This is when Jesus is getting ready to call his friends. Jesus left the desert and set about the great rescue. He was going to get God's people back. But first, he needed to find some helpers and friends. He had a lot to do. He would need some people to help him. Who would make good helpers, do you think? Clever ones? Rich ones? Strong, important ones? Some people might think so, but I'm sure by now you don't need me to tell you that they'd be wrong. Because the people God uses don't have to know a lot of things. They don't have to have a lot of things. They just need him a lot. One day, Jesus was walking by the Sea of Galilee when he saw some brothers and friends mending their nets. They were poor fishermen. Jesus called to them, "Let's go." You see, there's Jesus and there's the men on the shore fixing their nets. Peter, Andrew, James, and John looked up at this man on the shore and they couldn't explain it. Their boats needed to be put away. Their nets needed mending. Fish were still wriggling on the shore. But something about this stranger made them just drop their nets and their fish, leave their boats and everything, and follow him. This God-man was like no other they had ever met. When they looked at Jesus, their hearts filled up with a wonderful, forever sort of happiness, and inside it was as if they were running free in an open field. Jesus asked 12 men to be his helpers: Peter, Andrew, James, John, Matthew, Philip, Bartholomew, Thomas, another James, Simon, Thaddeus, and Judas. Meeting Jesus would change all of them forever. Well, I can't wait to keep sharing those stories with you because now it gets really amazing, all of the wonderful things Jesus did in his time on earth. We'll get into that in the next couple of weeks, but before I let you go, I do need to share another joke with you. Okay, what kind of music should you listen to when you're fishing? Probably something catchy. All right, I love y'all. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.